Hello everyone and welcome to another Pyro gaming video. Destiny 2 has been out for just a few days past a month, and as a result, most of us have been able to play this game enough to figure out which weapons are good and which ones are trash. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the best loadouts that I like for my Titan. This includes subclass, weapons, armor, all that good stuff. Now before I get into all that, guys, I do want to let you guys know that 6 weeks ago today, 6 weeks to the day from today, my house flooded, and I have been out of my house for the past 6 weeks, and that's why you haven't seen regular uploads on this channel. However, I am very happy to say that all the reconstruction in my house is, for the most part, complete, and it has reached a point where we are able to move back into our house, and I'm actually recording this inside of my house at my gaming desk, and I'm very happy to be back here and be able to do this again because I do love making these videos. And enough of that, let's go ahead and talk about the Titan. So, Titan is my favorite class. It was my favorite class in Destiny 1, and it is my favorite class in Destiny 2. The reason that the Titan has always been my favorite class is because, in my opinion, the Titan is the most versatile class. It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of classes. And with the addition of Sentinel, it's even more so. So, this is how I run my Sentinel setup. I, of course, run the Sentinel Shield. I do Strafe Lift, not that that really matters. I do the Rally Barricade so that I can reload my weapons quicker as opposed to just dropping a wall that I can't really do anything with. I prefer Magnetic Grenade because Magnetic Grenade, to me, it's kind of like, you know, you can just throw it and stick it to an enemy and then just turn around and walk away. Like, you know it's going to do the job depending on how much health that enemy has. If you're good at positioning a Void Wall Grenade, you can do massive amounts of damage with Void Wall Grenade. They're actually quite a bit better in Destiny 2 than they were in Destiny 1. And Destiny 1, on the Hunter, Void Wall Grenade was pretty much the worst grenade in the game. As far as Suppressor Grenade, it definitely does have its moments to shine, but altogether, I'm going to stick with Magnetic Grenade. Now, as far as which subclass tree I go ahead and select, I like to use Code of the Protector as opposed to Code of the Aggressor. And the reason being is because Code of the Protector is, like I said, it's that Swiss Army knife subclass. You have Ward of Dawn. If you just have to drop a panic bubble, things are getting a little too crazy, a little too spicy for the pepper, you got to drop down that panic bubble. It's good to have. In addition to that, we also have an Overshield, melee kills, restore health for you and nearby allies. That's really good. Defensive Strike. Kill an enemy with this melee ability to create an overshield around you and nearby allies. Turn the Tide. Your overshield has Defensive Strike last longer and increases melee damage and reload speed. This one is kind of meh. It's kind of like the Defender perk that went with your melee back in Destiny 1. But altogether, this is the one that I use. For the simple fact that I get an overshield, I can get my melee back, chunks of melee back, or chunks of health back every time I melee an enemy, and I get increases to reload speed, and in addition to that, if I need it, I also have a bubble that I can drop with Armor of Light and be virtually indestructible. So, I mean, altogether, this is the one that I use. Now, if we look at the other one right here, we have Shield Bash. After sprinting for a short time, use this melee ability to unleash a devastating shield blast that disorients enemies. This is basically Shoulder Charge for defenders, or Shoulder Charge for Sentinel, I should say. Superior Arsenal. Grenade kills recharge your grenade energy. This one definitely can be good in the right scenario. In the Trenches, kills while surrounded by enemies reduce the cooldown of your super. And lastly, we gain an additional shield throw charge. Now, this one is, on paper, seems really good, but in actuality, you can actually throw, even with this subclass, you can throw your shield twice per super. Once as soon as you pop your super, and you can throw it again right before your super runs out. So you already have 2 shield throws in this subclass right here. So that's how I run Sentinel. As far as Striker, honestly, I don't really touch it. As far as Sunbreaker, I will be honest, hammers feel very, very good to me in Destiny 2. They actually feel a heck of a lot like they did in Destiny 1 when they first came out in the Taken King, by which I mean kind of overpowered. I definitely like to use Code of the Fireforged. It's just a really good subclass, or a really good build. This one over here is good, but it's too much work. You know, it's all about the sunspots, and you got to stand in the sunspots to really make them work. It kind of limits your mobility. So that's why I go with this one. And anytime that I use Sunbreaker, I go ahead and pair it with Hollowfire Heart, which exotic perk is Sunfire Furnace, greatly improves the recharge rate of your solar abilities while Hammer of Soul is charged. So basically what this gives you is when you're using the Sunbreaker subclass, it gives you what we knew in Destiny 1 as Simmering Flames. When your super is full, your grenade, melee, and class ability recharge a lot faster. So now that we have all that out of the way, like I said, I don't really use Striker at all. I'm not a fan of it. I feel like Sentinel and Sunbreaker just outclass Striker in every way, at least for now. But let's go ahead and get into my weapons. So if you go look at any of my characters, in total I have 6. 3 here on Xbox and 3 on PS4. And if you go look at any of those 6 characters, you will see the exact same weapons in the exact same slot. It's the same thing that I did in Destiny 1. I pick my favorite weapons, and I try to keep everything on each character so that I can just swap from one character to another and not have to transfer gear. So that being said, the old-fashioned hand cannon has been my pretty much main kinetic weapon. In addition to that, the Nameless Midnight Scout Rifle is the other one that I will use in its place. Both of these are insanely good as far as kinetic weapons are concerned. So I will use the old-fashioned hand cannon, which is relatively close range, but for a hand cannon, I feel like it does have pretty good range. When I'm using a hand cannon, I'm going to pair that with something like the 7.65, which is a Mida multi-tool archetype of scout rifle that fires in full auto. And it is an energy weapon, so it does either void, arc, or solar damage, and it's really fun to use. It's one of my favorites in the game so far. So that's what I'll pair with this. Now on the flip side of that, if I'm rocking a scout rifle in my primary here, then I'm going to go with something a little bit more close range down here. So that's where the hard light's going to come in, that's where sunshot's going to come in, that's where Mida multi-tool, risk runner, things of that nature will come in. In addition to that, I might also get a little frisky if I'm going to be going up into a Nightfall or something like that. I need a lot of ammo, I want to keep my distance. I'll go ahead and run double scout rifles, and I'll pop on either Skyburner's Oath if it's Cabal, or 7.65 if it's anything else. I also really enjoy Graviton Lance, so I will go ahead and pop that on and pair it with either of these as well. So going back to the primaries, these are the primaries that I keep on all my characters, and these are why. I keep saying primaries, it's kinetic now. But like I said, Nameless Midnight, very, very good. It's honestly probably one of the best scout rifles in the entire game. Very well rounded. It has explosive payload. I couldn't remember the new name for it. We called it explosive rounds in Destiny 1. But the cool thing about explosive payload in Destiny 2, and I believe it was the same in Destiny 1, but your explosive rounds actually have 0 damage drop-off. So that's one of the big debates about the old-fashioned hand cannon versus something like the Crucible hand cannon that I can't think of the name of right now, the Devil something. The Crucible hand cannon comes with explosive rounds, and as a result, the explosive rounds, like I said, have no damage drop-off. So you can map enemies and get half of your damage, whereas this, you're going to have to stay up close. So that's why I keep the Nameless Midnight. It's just an all-around great primary. We need to rename this from the Mida multi-tool to the Meta multi-tool, because that's it. That's all you see in Crucible. I'm not a Crucible fan myself, but I do still like to keep Mida multi-tool on my characters, because with high caliber rounds, this is a really good primary to have. I also go ahead and keep a sweet business on all of my characters, because it's fun to use, and in certain situations, it is a really good weapon to have. In addition to that, I keep a Sturm hand cannon. This one isn't really one that's overpowered. I mean, it is one of the higher impact archetypes, or actually it might be the highest impact archetype hand cannon in the game, but it's just really fun to use. You can get a lot of ammo with this thing if you play it right, and it's really, really fun. Next up, we have the Vigilance Wing. I actually just bought this from Xur the other day. This shoots a 5-round burst, and it heals on ally death, which could be good. Pulse rifles aren't in a terrible spot right now. They're okay in PvE, so I'm keeping one of these on each of my characters just in case I decide to use it. The old-fashioned hand cannon, honestly, guys, I cannot tell you why I like this hand cannon so much. It just feels really smooth and really snappy. I mean, I adore this hand cannon. This is my favorite hand cannon in the game, even more so than the Crucible hand cannon. Looking at its perks, we have Kill Clip. Reloading after a kill grants increased damage. In addition to that, we also have Drop Mag. Magazine drops on reload, wasting ammunition, but greatly increasing reload speed. So basically what you want to do with this is just never actually reload it manually. You always want to run through all 9 rounds of the magazine and let it reload by itself. That way you're getting the increased reload speed with drop mag, which is very, very fast, and you're not sacrificing any of your reserve ammo in the process. So these two combined, it just makes a really solid workhorse hand cannon. It's really good, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So next up, we have Scathe Lock. I keep one of these on each of my characters just in the rare event that I feel like I want to go do some Crucible. This thing is really good in the Crucible. I enjoy using it, so that's why I keep a Scathe Lock on each character. Moving on to my energy weapons, I keep a Hard Light on each character because Hard Light is... it's good, man. I never thought I would say that. I was never a fan of Hard Light in Destiny 1, but Hard Light in Destiny 2 is definitely one of those versatile weapons that you can get your money's worth. For the simple fact that you can go into your menu right here and you can switch from void damage to solar damage to arc damage whenever you want. And in addition to that, I mean, auto rifles are in a okay place right now. I mean, they're not great, but they are definitely good. So for that reason, combined with the ability to switch all your different elemental types just whenever you want, that's why I keep a Hard Light on each character. It's just a very versatile weapon. Skyburner's Oath, Destiny 2, right now we're fighting a lot of Cabal. This does extra damage versus Cabal, and it's just a fun weapon to use. It basically has focused fire on it, which slows down your shooting speed and gives you a little bit of extra damage while also firing in full auto, and it's just a good weapon. It's a good all-around weapon. I enjoy it. Sunshot is one of my favorite exotics in this game. Sunshot basically has the same effect that Icebreaker did in Destiny 1. This weapon fires explosive rounds and highlights targets that take damage from Sunshot. And then you also have Sunblast. Targets killed with Sunshot explode in solar energy. It is so much fun to use, especially when you're like playing around with a bunch of low-level enemies. You explode one enemy and it just starts a chain reaction and makes all the enemies around him explode, and it's just so much fun to use. This is honestly one of the best exotics in the game. If you have one of these and you're not using it, you are missing out tremendously. Next up, we have the Risk Runner Submachine Gun. Now, the Risk Runner, initially, I did not like it, but the more I used it, the more I fell in love with it, especially with the ammo economy in Destiny 2. Ammo drops seem to be rare. I find myself constantly running out of both kinetic and energy weapon ammo in addition to power ammo. So Risk Runner kind of negates that. When taking arc damage, this weapon becomes more powerful and resists incoming arc damage. Kills extend its time in the overcharged state. We also have Arrowhead Break, Extended Mag, and Superconductor. This is the one that you really want to pay attention to. When Arc Conductor is active, shots fired have the chance to become Chain Lightning and return ammo. You can basically just shoot this thing forever without having to reload. It is so much fun. When you play it right, you just constantly have a full 41-round magazine. It reloads like at 39 rounds. So you become like a tank, man. It's so much fun to use, especially when combined with something like the Devour build with your Warlock, where every kill gives you bonus health. I mean, you just become unstoppable, man. Risk Runner is definitely one of my favorite exotics. I mentioned earlier the 7.65 Scout Rifle. This is one of my favorites because it's just a really versatile weapon. You can put whatever mod you want on it, make it any elemental type. But what really makes this weapon stand out is it does the Mida Multi-Tool archetype of rate of fire, which is the 200 rounds a minute, but it fires in full auto. In addition to that, you also have armor-piercing rounds or accurized rounds. I prefer accurized over armor-piercing because I feel like armor-piercing is kind of a waste. But yeah, it's just an all-around solid workhorse scout rifle, and it fits really well into your energy weapon slot. Graviton Lance, you probably got fairly early on. This was one of the exotics offered to you at level 4 from, I believe, Sloan. Or no, it was level 11 from Asher Mir over on IO. But yeah, it's just a really fun weapon. It's just really fun. I don't need to go into detail about it. I don't use it all that much, but it definitely is fun. The Mida Mini Tool is the only legendary submachine gun in this game that I actually truly enjoy using. It's just a really good versatile weapon. Like I said, I like to pair that when I'm running a scout rifle in my primary slot. I will go ahead and pop on something close range, so it's either going to be Mida, Risk Runner, or Sunshot. Now, moving on to my power weapons, I'm pretty particular about my power weapons, man. I really am. Right now I have the Crown Splitter, which is the Titan-specific sword that you get from completing the story missions. I believe Zavala gives this to you, or somebody at the tower does the first time you go there. But that's not my main heavy. My main power weapon is this one right here, the Blue Shift rocket launcher. You can see how high that blast radius is. This thing is an absolute beast. So looking at its perks, honestly, they're nothing special. You have increased ammo reserves, which is always good, especially considering the power ammo drops are so rare. But, its other perk is faster reload when crouched. I never use that, man. I never, think to myself, oh, I better crouch before I reload my rocket launcher. The reason that I like this thing as much as I do is because it does so much damage. And I'm going to give you guys an example. If you are doing a public event where it is the Fallen Glimmer extraction, where it drops the 3 Vandals that you have to kill, and then after you kill them, you get the captain. If you put one of these rockets in between the 8 enemies that ship drops initially, it will kill all 8 of them in one rocket. This thing is so powerful. Some people will argue that the Cluster Bomb rocket launcher is the best rocket launcher in the game. And for certain situations, absolutely it is. But when you're talking about just utter and pure power, the Blue Shift rocket launcher is the top of my list. I absolutely adore this thing. Next up, we have MERCILESS, which is a fusion rifle that is honestly probably the best power exotic in the game for boss DPS. You might be able to argue the Dubious Volley or Wordcliff Coil, whichever one you want to call it, is a little bit better, but MERCILESS is just fantastic, man. It's so much fun to use, and when done right, it is just absolute boss melting at its finest. It's so much fun. Speaking of Wordcliff Coil, I do keep one of those on each one of my characters because it's super fun. I'm sure you guys have seen this enough for me to not have to go into detail about it. I keep a shotgun on each character, and I do use the Hawthorne's Field Forge shotgun. It's a really good all-around shotgun, fires in full auto, does pretty good damage. I keep high-impact sniper rifles on each character, although sniper rifles are not in a very good place right now. I hardly ever use a sniper in this game. I'm typically either running a rocket launcher or a fusion rifle, but Gentleman Vagabond and Show of Force, I think is what it's called, the one that you can get from the EDZ vendor. They're both really good. They're both a high impact, similar to Event Horizon from Destiny 1. And they're not terrible, but like I said, snipers aren't in the best place right now. So next up, we have the Tarantula, which is a linear fusion rifle, similar to the Man of War that you get from completing the quest line on IO, but with the addition of slightly higher impact on the Tarantula. So for me, this thing is basically like a legendary sleeper simulant. It does really high damage, but it's imperative that you land every single one of your crit shots. Otherwise, you're just wasting ammo. So if you're good at hitting crit shots, this thing can be an absolute boss melter. It is really, really fun to use. I keep one on each character. Like I said, this is the Titan-specific sword. On my Hunter, I keep the Hunter-specific sword, and on my Warlock, I keep the Warlock-specific sword. So that does it for weapons. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my ghost shell. I try to collect a ghost shell that gives me something for each destination. So for example, this one detects caches and resources in the EDZ. This one detects caches and resources on Titan. And then we have the Kill Tracker Ghost, which doesn't really do anything other than show you your kills. So over time, I will have one of these for each destination so that I can know where everything is. Moving on to my armor, I run the Optimacy armor on each one of my characters that you get from Test Eververse. I've collected a ton of bright engrams, and I've been lucky enough to go ahead and get full sets of gear in the Optimacy armor for every single one of them. As far as the exotics that I keep the Doomfang Pauldron on my Titan. Shield Bash, melee kills, recharge shield throw, melee abilities, kills, recharge Sentinel Shield Super. This is honestly one of the better Titan exotics in the game if you run Sentinel. Basically what this does is every time you throw your shield and you consume your melee, you can't throw your shield again. But with this one, if you run up to an enemy and bash them with the shield, then you automatically get another shield throw. So you can literally get as many shield throws as you can, as enemies you could kill. I mean, you get them constantly. They're really, really good. And they also look pretty cool. I enjoy the way that these look. Got the horns coming off there. It looks really nice. Next up, AC/DC feedback fence. I don't use these very much because these are going to be kind of specific to like certain builds that I don't really use, but I just keep them on here in case I ever do decide to use them. Moving on to my chest pieces, Hollowfire Heart, I already talked to you about that. Basically gives you Simmering Flames for your Sunbreaker class. Crest of Alpha Lupi generates an additional Orb of Light from supers and Healing Pulse when Barricade is active. This one could be really good when used appropriately. And lastly, we have the Actium Warpig, which is kind of garbage, but I'll be honest with you guys, there are certain situations where this thing can actually be really, really good. When you combine it with your Titan Barricade and you're running something like Hard Light, maybe combined with, another auto rifle up here, you can actually do a lot of damage with this thing without having to reload. So that's why I keep it on here, just to kind of play around with. Down here, we have the Lion Rampant exotic leg armor. And this is, without a doubt, my favorite piece of exotic Titan armor. Its exotic perk, Jump Jets, provides additional aerial maneuverability. So the best way that I can describe this is it's kind of like Bones VAO for a Titan. Like when you jump and you activate the Titan's boost jump, you literally can just float around everywhere. Like it extends the amount of time that you're in the air, and it gives you so much more maneuverability that you can get to areas in the air that you normally wouldn't be able to get to as a Titan. So, I mean, this is pretty much what I have equipped on my Titan at all times. I absolutely love these things. If you are a fan of Titans and you pick these up, keep them on your character for a while. Like, give them a solid chance and, have that be your main exotic and then switch to something else, and you feel like the Titan's jump sucks without these things on. It's, like I said, the best way that I can describe it is it's Bones VAO for the Titan. It is insanely fun to use. I also keep the Legs of Optimacy armor on here, and then in addition to that, I keep Dune Marchers, Linear Actuators, increases sprint speed, sprinting builds up a static charge after melee attacking an enemy. The charge will chain damage to nearby enemies. These definitely have a place in the game. I just personally have not found that place just yet. I feel like these are going to be pretty good in Crucible, but as I've said many times, I'm not that much of a Crucible player. But, I keep these on here because the day might come where I find a good use for them, and I go ahead and start using them. As far as class items, I have the Dead Orbit class item from the Faction Rally, and then I also have the Optimacy class item to complete my set. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's how I run my Titan. When I go ahead and do the Warlock and Hunter videos, which I plan on doing at some point in the near future, as I said, I keep all the same weapons on each one of my characters, so for the next two videos, I won't really be spending that much time going over weapons. I will mainly be focusing on the subclass builds and the armor builds to complement those subclasses. But that is going to bring this video to an end, guys. That's going to bring the video to an end. If you enjoyed it, click like. If you're new to the channel, click subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, I fucking love you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.